Hi everyone, welcome back. Welcome to week 10 of our 12-week program. I have to admit, I'm actually super excited to talk to you this week about fasting. I've been reading a lot about fasting. I've been researching it. I just finished a great book that I'm going to share with you in a little bit. And I'm really pumped up. I'm starting to believe that this just might be the missing piece for a lot of people. So I can't wait to tell you more about it. But before we jump into all things fasting, let's take a moment to review how this last week went on food sensitivities and starting an elimination diet. So to review your tasks for the week, your first task was to go through your kitchen, your pantry, your meals, and to remove all offending foods. And for the purposes of our elimination, that included gluten, dairy, corn, and soy, plus eggs and or nuts if you were at all suspicious with either of those. And honestly, plus anything else that you think might be a suspect. This would be your opportunity to take it out and to test it and to know once and for all. Your second task was then to map out a meal plan using the list of safe foods, right, to come up with some ideas. I had sent you an email with some meal plans and some ideas just to kind of get things started. Hopefully that was helpful and you were able to come up with a pretty simple plan to follow for the week. Your third task was to actually go through a list of symptoms, right, and to kind of think through, besides weight, what other symptoms might you be dealing with, whether that's digestively or with your skin, with allergies, headaches, etc. We had talked about a list of things to look for. And then to come up with kind of an initial assessment of how much of an issue those symptoms are for you at this point in time. So if you did do all that, if you were ready to move forward and you jumped into the elimination diet, I hope the week went smoothly for you. And the goal will be to continue that for at least another week. We want to give it at least 2 weeks to clear your body of all those foods before we start bringing any back in to test. Okay, so you have 1 more week of that diet. Basically, what I would like you to do this weekend is to reassess your symptoms, just so you can kind of rescale each symptom and determine if anything has shifted. And then the other thing is to get back to the grocery store and basically repeat the meal plan that you used this last week. Okay, so that was last week. Now, as you continue the elimination diet this week, we're not going to add any more foods in. We're actually going to take some away. And we're going to look at how you can start incorporating intermittent fasting into your routine. So let's get started on that. I'm going to go ahead and advance to the next slide. And I want to spend a few moments just first talking to you about what fasting is and why is it so good for you? Why should you even be willing to give it a try? And hopefully I'll be able to convince you. I feel pretty convinced myself. So first off, what is fasting? And I think it's really important to just take a quick minute to define this, because a lot of people get freaked out at the idea of fasting and they immediately start to think about like starving, right? Or food deprivation. And it has a lot of negative tones to it. And it certainly should not be negative. Fasting has been used for thousands of years in multiple cultures around the world as an important piece of their culture. It should not be negative in any way. So basically fasting is the voluntary is the important word there, right? The voluntary abstention of any food for any given period of time, right? And it can be done for spiritual reasons, for health reasons, for any reason, really. What's really important here is that you're in control of it, right? You decide when the fasting starts, you decide when the fasting ends. Food is available, but you're choosing not to eat it, right? So it's very different than being in a situation of starvation. So I want you to try to let go of any of those sort of negative connotations that you might be holding on to around fasting. Let's talk a little bit about the benefits. And this is this is where I've gotten really excited about as I've been learning more about the benefits of fasting. So first, if we just think about how we've evolved, right, as human beings and how our ancestors ate thousands of years ago. I mean, the paleo diet, the ancestral diet is super popular. So most people sort of have an understanding of what that means when I say, what did we evolve to eat? But beyond just what did we evolve to eat, it's also, I think, how did we evolve to consume food, right? Like food patterns. Food was not always available. I don't believe that we evolved physiologically to eat 3 square meals a day plus snacks. Like never in our ancestral history was that a reality, right? Food was not that plentiful. What was normal is that there would be food, there would be periods of feasting, but then followed by periods of famine. And I honestly believe that our bodies are probably more in tune to that pattern of eating than what we've been doing, let's say in the last 100 years of eating, right, 3 or more times a day. So let's talk a little bit about the research. And I want to share with you, this is the book that I have been reading and getting really excited about, The Complete Guide to Fasting by Dr. Jason Fung. If you get at all inspired by this week and you want to dive into this deeper, I would highly recommend his book. I found it to be very helpful, and he does a really good job chronicling a lot of the research around this. But honestly, it affects every aspect of our bodies. There's been research, of course, with weight loss showing that it helps us tap into fat burning better. So as soon as we use up our sugar reserves, right, our glucose, our carbohydrate reserves, our body has to find another fuel to keep it going. So as long as we're not bringing more carbohydrates or more glucose in, what it does to survive is it shifts to the fat, and it actually starts using fat as the energy source, which helps us lose fat much more efficiently. It's also been shown to be incredibly effective for lowering blood sugar levels and improving insulin sensitivity, which is incredibly important for anyone who's diabetic or pre-diabetic. Trying to get the blood sugar under control, fasting can be incredibly helpful for that. In the world of cancer, which I've spent a lot of time working in that world, there's been very exciting research around the ability of fasting to actually boost the immune system, to clean out the body, literally goes through and digests old, dying, malfunctioning cells, which is a huge cancer preventative, right? The other thing that it's been shown to be helpful for is for the heart. It's very effective at lowering cholesterol levels, lowering triglycerides, lowering homocysteine, all of these risk factors for heart disease, improves liver function, and with the brain, it's shown a lot of benefit in improving brain function and just giving more mental clarity. I mean, who wouldn't want all of those benefits, right? And it's not by including something into your diet, it's by taking something out. So I'm kind of stoked on this idea because I feel like this makes it super available to everyone, right? You don't have to buy anything. You don't need any special equipment. Actually, you'll save money because you'll be eating less food, right? And anybody can do it in any sort of situation or circumstance. So anyways, I don't need to beat that to death. I think you probably get that I'm pretty excited about this, and I hope I can show you how we can actually easily bring it into our diet and it won't feel so overwhelming. I also want to take one more moment before we advance to the next slide to talk about some of the myths around fasting, which is maybe what gives fasting a little bit of a bad rap. So I think kind of 3 things come to mind to me when I ask, just what's your initial reaction if I told you, like, I want you to fast? What if I want you to fast for this whole next week? No food at all. What's the first thing that comes to mind for you? I would say that for most people, there's a huge fear around being hungry, right? And like, how can we function? How can we do our daily tasks and live in our world hungry all the time? Well, this is what's interesting. This is actually a myth around fasting. So it's not that you won't feel hungry, particularly in the beginning, you will feel hungry. Once your body uses up all of its carbohydrate stores, basically it starts sending signals to the brain to eat, right? We need more carbohydrate. We need more energy. So you're going to feel those hunger pangs. But here's what happens is it's not constant and it doesn't get worse and worse and worse. It doesn't build. We've all felt that feeling of hunger before. That's exactly what you'll feel when you're fasting. It's not any worse. It's not any more intense. And the best part about it is it comes in waves. It's not constant. So you get kind of a wave of hunger and then it passes and you feel fine for a while. The other thing is I haven't, and I'll tell you a little bit about my own experience with fasting too, because I have been playing with this since probably October now and really liking it. My husband has been doing it as well with me. But I haven't gone more than 24 hours yet. And my understanding from everything I've read is that really around day 2 of fasting is when the hunger becomes kind of the hardest to deal with. But that's also when between day 1 and 2, when your body is switching into ketosis, when it's starting to use fat for energy instead of carbohydrate. The beauty of all of this is as soon as it switches into fat burning, guess what? There's plentiful supply of food. It's going to use up all of your fat stores before you feel hungry again. So basically, after day 2, the hunger goes away. You don't feel hungry anymore, which is what makes it doable, I guess, and possible to even consider doing a longer term fast. So just to know that hunger is real, but it's not overwhelming, and it's not a reason you shouldn't try it. The other thing is people get concerned that your body's going to shut down, right? How am I going to function without any food? I mean, we've all felt hangry before, right? How am I going to do that for days on end? Well, here's the deal. Your body doesn't shut down. If it did, just think about this in an evolutionary space, right? If we did shut down every time we were without food and we basically like melted into puddles of just nothingness and we couldn't function, we wouldn't have survived. Like we wouldn't still be here as a species if that's what happened. What actually happens is the opposite. When we've gone without food, particularly when we start switching into ketosis and into fat burning, actually everything becomes more heightened. We have more energy. We can think clearer. We have more endurance. We feel stronger. And really, we've had to evolve this way so that we can go hunt and we can go find more food so that we can survive as a species, right? So don't be concerned that your body is going to shut down. It won't. If anything, you'll probably feel better than you do normally. And the last myth is just that a lot of people feel like fasting is unsafe, and that's totally not true either. There's been a lot of research to support the safety of fasting. The only caveat to this, of course, is if you are on medications, then you definitely want to do this under the supervision of a provider. We want to make sure that not having food isn't going to interfere with how some of your medicines are going to be metabolized. And certain people, it does not make sense to fast, right? If you were already malnourished or underweight, definitely not going to be fasting because you don't have enough fat reserves to have it be helpful, right? To have it make sense. Anybody who's growing, so children, no, children should not fast. They need the food, they're growing, right? We're not going to remove food from their diet. And that's the same for women who are growing babies. So pregnant women should not be fasting. They need the nutrition to grow their babies. So there's certainly a few caveats there, but by and large, for most of us, it's completely safe and really recommended for long-term health. So let's look specifically at your tasks then for this week. So your first task, as with every week, is to read through the chapter on fasting. And then what you're going to do is, just like we did with the week on carbohydrates, is you're going to decide what your goal is. I'm giving you several options in the book and what we're about to talk about, and you're going to decide where you want to start, okay? So here's the first goal. If you're not already here, this is where I want you to start. Let's first start by extending the overnight fast to at least 12 hours, okay? So that means from the time you eat dinner to the time you eat breakfast, is at least 12 hours. If you're eating dinner between 7 or 8, then you're not eating breakfast until between 7 or 8 the next morning, which might mean that you are taking your breakfast to work with you so that you can eat it a little bit later, okay? The reason for this is that we really want to first just balance the amount of time we spend building or eating with the amount of time we spend cleansing or fasting, okay? And that's 12 hours and 12 hours. Once we've got that balance happening, then we can move on into more extended fasting periods, okay? So first, that's where you start. If you're not already doing 12 hours, start there this week. Make a plan of when you're going to eat dinner, how long you have to wait until breakfast, and just start getting into the routine of doing that. Honestly, from my own experience, that alone has helped my digestive system tremendously. So you might find that just that one shift could actually make a really big difference for you. If you're already doing the 12-hour overnight fast, or once you get into the hang of doing that, then your second goal is going to be to extend that to 16 hours at least 2 or 3 times a week. So what I do is I kind of do a Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And basically what that means is you're skipping breakfast. So if you eat your dinner again, let's say by 8 o'clock, then you're not eating again until noon the next day. What you're doing instead of eating, though, is you're filling your morning with fluids. Okay, it's really important that when you're not sleeping, that you're hydrating while you're fasting. Okay, hydration becomes even more important when you're fasting, particularly when there's a lot of cleansing and detoxing happening, right? We need those fluids to help clear things out. I give you a list there of what fluids are completely appropriate to consume during a fast. And I would try to plan it so really like every hour you're drinking something. And you're going to be surprised. It's going to be so easy to get to lunch. You're not even going to think about food. I promise. You just have to try it. You just have to, give it a go and see for yourself what it feels like. So different kinds of waters, right? You can do lemon water, spa water, even carbonated water is okay as long as it's not sweetened, no artificial sweeteners or anything. Different teas, black tea, green tea, herbal tea. Your teas and your coffees, generally if there's a little bit of caffeine in it, can be really helpful at suppressing your appetite. So if you're starting to feel like you are getting a little bit hungry, having a cup of coffee or a cup of black or green tea is usually enough to suppress the hunger until it's actually time to eat. One thing I want to note here, and I do talk about it in the book, because besides not eating anything, what we're really trying to do with the weight loss piece is keep the body in fat burning for as long as possible, right? That's also what the low carbohydrate diet is doing. And together, the low carb and the fasting makes it even more powerful. But the reason I say that is that you can still bring fat in. So what I like to do in the morning is, on the mornings that I skip breakfast, is I drink a cup of coffee, but I actually make a butter and coconut oil coffee. And I give you the recipe for that in the back of your ebook. If you haven't tried this before, you really should give it a try. It is so insanely delicious. Of course, it's incredibly filling because of all that fat, but it also keeps you in fat burning, so you still get the ketosis benefits. So that is an option. If you don't want to just have your coffee plain, you could also do that with your tea if you wanted. And then, of course, your broths are going to be great too. Bone broth or even just a vegetable mineral broth is going to be really good. Broths become even more helpful the longer you go with your fast. If you notice that you start to get any kind of headaches or that kind of feeling of, just not optimal, a broth can make that totally go away. So those are your primary fluids while you're not eating, okay? After that, and this is probably where most of you are going to be this next week. You're just going to either work on the 12-hour fast or the 16-hour fast, and you're just going to practice that and get comfortable with it and see how you feel and see how your body responds. Beyond that, once you've had some practice under your belt, there are longer fasts that I think would be worth experimenting, and there's no one right way to do this, right? You just kind of have to experiment and see what works best for you. I do the 12-hour every night fast. I do the 16-hour fast 3 mornings a week. And then I also do one 24-hour fast a week. And I show you my little sample plan in the book so you can see it. 24-hour fast, even doing that more regularly. And in this book, he gives you some protocols in the back of the book to do 24-hour fasts, 36-hour fast, or 42-hour fast. So he gives you some guidelines, which is helpful if you want to experiment with some of those longer stretches. But those can be a little bit more helpful when you have specific goals in mind. So the 24-hour fast is going to be more effective at weight loss, right? The 36-hour fast is going to be obviously even more effective with weight loss, but it's also going to be more effective at dropping your blood sugar because it's giving you a longer stretch where you're using up the extra sugar. 42-hour fasts have actually been shown to be really helpful for people with type 2 diabetes and getting their diabetes under control. Then you start moving into like multiple days, right? The 3 to 5 day fast. And this is the next one I want to personally experiment with, which I haven't done yet, so I can't speak from my own experience. But the 3 to 5 day fast is really thought to give your body a big immune boost. So when you're thinking about just general kind of immune health and cancer prevention, these 3 to 5 day fasts, maybe a couple times a year could be really good. And then in the book too, they talk a lot about the 7 to 14 day fast, which I know sounds so crazy, but plenty of people have done it with really, really solid results. And 7 to 14 day fasts are often used for people with more severe diabetes or even morbid obesity because it just sort of jumpstarts that whole process and gets people progressing a lot quicker. Any of those longer fasts, though, should absolutely be done under the guidance of a provider, okay? So please don't experiment with that on your own. At least reach out to me if you're interested so I can help guide you, if not your physician or a different practitioner, okay? The 12-hour, the 16-hour, even the 24-hour, totally safe, totally doable. All of you can play with that, okay? So please start thinking about where you're going to start, and then what the next task will be is for us to actually map out the plan for the week. Decide what your goal is, decide how you're going to implement that over the week, what fluids you're going to go towards or what you're going to bring with you to work, and then, of course, track how you do over the course of the week, okay? What is most important here about fasting is that you want to make fasting fit your life, not the other way around. You're not trying to change your life to go on a fast. That is counterproductive. You should be able to still work, still do your life. You don't have to be on vacation for a week to fast, okay? It absolutely should fit into your life, and that's kind of the perspective you need to have when you start experimenting with it. Okay, so I know that was a little long-winded. Thank you for hanging in there with me. As you can tell, I'm just really excited about it, and I want to make sure you understand the potential for it. I think it's so worth giving it a try because the potential is really, really high. So let's review your tasks then for this week, okay, with fasting. Is first, like I said, read the book. I even have a great blog post on my website on fasting. You could just do a search, fasting, and it'll come up. Just to make sure you really feel like you understand it and that you have, the sort of the background to kind of help you push through it. Then I want you to decide on a goal for this week, okay? Map out your plan and go for it and track how you do. This is certainly one that I want you to just continue to experiment with, okay? This is not going to be just a one-week deal. This is something that can continue to evolve over time. You can continue to refine it, figuring out what protocol or what system is like really resonating with you and works best for you. At what type of fasting do you feel you're best? But keep massaging it, keep playing with it, because I really think that if you can find a program that's going to work for you around fasting, the benefits are huge, right? For all of us, regardless of all the myriad of things that we're each dealing with. And it's accessible to all of us. Like I said in the beginning, it doesn't cost anything. If anything, it'll save you money. It's easy to do. It's just getting into the practice of doing it and not being afraid to try, right? And that's going to be, I guess, what I will leave you with this week is just don't let the fear of the unknown of fasting prevent you from actually trying it. It's going to be a lot easier than you imagine it's going to be, and the benefit could be really, really big. If you're doing your elimination, that's going to continue for this week. Please remember to record your weight and to get on the Facebook group and share with everyone how you're doing. I so loved speaking with all of you this week, so thank you so much for taking the time to check in. I found it incredibly helpful, and I hope that you did too. You're all doing great, and you're all at different places, which is wonderful, right? Is that we're not going through this exactly the same, even though we're all going through it together in some version. And that's the beauty of having the support from the whole group to kind of hold that space, to hold the container for us to move through this program. I'm going to leave it at that. I have talked enough. Thank you for listening. Good luck this week, and happy fasting. And I will see you next week. Take care, everyone.